Welcome to GLOBEWATCH with me, Charles Ebune. It is one of the most northern parts of the European Union and a former republic of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, today simply an independent state with roughly 1.3 million citizens. I'm talking about Estonia, which is today seeking to become a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. What do they intend to do with their mandate spanning 2020 to 2022? My guest today on GLOBEWATCH is the special advisor of the President of Estonia. A special advisor of the President of Estonia, SCHAER. Welcome to GLOBEWATCH.
Thank you very much.
You gained independence in 1991 when the European Union, when the Soviet Union collapsed, and two of your priorities were first to enter NATO and then second to become a member of the European Union. All of that is a reality today. What do you need more in the world?
Actually, we restored our independence in 1991. So the independence was in 1918 after the First World War. And we had this period where we were part of the Soviet Union and were similar to the situation what countries in Africa had. So in 1991, as you said, we focused on NATO and the EU. And now we've decided that we want to focus on the wider world. We want to make new friends, we want to make new contacts, and we want to cooperate with the rest of the world. And one of these areas being Africa.
Well, you just said Africa. We'll be talking that in a moment. Why should a small country of roughly 1.3 million people with a good forest resources management system be so interested in being so globally involved in a world where populism or nationalism is increasingly becoming the order of the day, where so many are rejecting the multilateral system?
Well, for countries like us in Estonia, the international rules-based system is of great importance. Being a small country, we have to base ourselves on international law. That's what protects us, and that's what the UN is based on. And we believe that every member state of the UN should have an opportunity, if not even the obligation, to go to the UN Security Council and to give our share, give our experiences, and try to do something for the good of the world.
Well, you just spoke about the United Nations, which is celebrating plus 70 years of existence, and you are seeking to become a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, a 15-member club organization with 5 being permanent. What are your key priorities?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, we see that very important is conflict prevention. We put a lot of effort, a lot of resources into dealing with conflicts once they've started, but we don't put enough resources into preventing them. And that's something also that the Secretary General of the UN has taken as one of his priorities. Another area that we're looking into is we're very strong in digital, but the other side of digital and e-government is cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is the aspect that protects us and protects our digital systems. And this is something we believe should be discussed at the UN Security Council as well, because it is possible to make attacks, to attack important infrastructure. There is practically no country in the world that doesn't have a digital aspect in its, for example, its electricity systems or in others banking systems. So it's important to also put in a legal basis in cyberspace.
You just spoke about preventing conflicts in the world today. Since the end of the Second World War in 1945, the United Nations Refugee Agency says that we have plus 66 million refugees world over today. That should be the largest figure since the Adolf Hitler system was dismantled, and about 20 million of those people live in Africa. Will the refugee crisis be a serious priority for you?
I mean, the refugee crisis is a priority for everyone. I mean, it's something where we have to work together. I mean, the most important aspect here is also the root causes of this. And this is what we have to tackle is to find out the reasoning why these people are wanting to leave. Part of it is, of course, because of security questions and because of war, but part of it is also because of economic pressures. And I think that that's maybe somewhere where we, with our economic system of free economy, using digital solutions as multipliers of development, can give something to these countries in development and give at least an example. We're not coming here to teach, we're not coming here to make lessons, we want to just share our experiences.
Well, you want to share experiences. You just said that the government of Estonia wants to be engaged in the world and even more.
Yes.
You know that one of the key topics and issues facing our globe today is the migration crisis.
Yes.
You have so much space. It's true, you are a tiny country. You need more people. You are a member of the European Union. When you see the debate between the French, the British, and the Italians in particular, are you going to say, okay, look, I am the heaven, I need more people in my country, please come in, and be the opposite of Hungary under Viktor Orban? Is that possible?
Well, in Estonia, you know that we have also the historical population of migrants because of during the Soviet period. We had a large contingent of Russian citizens staying in Estonia. A large portion of them, even a large majority of them, have become Estonian citizens, but there still is a minority that's not. So we already have, a percentage of them. But at the same time, we have taken a certain amount of refugees from Greece and from Turkey, because we had this agreement between.
Is it easy to quantify those numbers? And are you going to adopt the policy of Angela Merkel's open door policy? I will get you from Syria, I will get you from Libya, I will get you from Somalia and other conflict-stricken areas of the world. Please come in, we can make good use of you. That is in reality my question.
We are open to having qualified experts, of course. In terms of refugees, what we're in terms of a sort of black or a free card, sort of a clear rule as to who can come. There are certain numbers and there are certain processes that we go through, and so
last year,
yes,
the United Nations secured a global migration pact,
yes,
in Marrakesh,
exactly,
in Morocco.
Yes.
You know the havoc it created to the Belgian
yes,
government,
yes,
of Charles Michel.
Yes, of course.
Were you part of that signatory agreement?
We had the same discussions in Estonia. It's a very important topic. We have some parties who were opposed to this agreement, but the parliament decided with a vote to support the pact, and our ambassador in New York voted for the pact. So we have joined it, we have signed it.
You have signed the pact, and that takes me to one of the key areas where you are involved in issues of global concern today, Africa. You are part of the stabilization mission in Mali, Operation Barkhane. Why should a small country in Eastern Europe, in Europe, be so involved of terrorism in West Africa? It sounds absurd, right?
Well, for us, it's a key importance is the security umbrella that also secures us. So we have our allies who are helping us, and so we feel we have to go and help our allies as well. We have served in the missions in Afghanistan. We have also been in Central African Republic. We have been in the EU mission, the pirate mission on the coast, on the east coast of Africa. So we believe, as a small country, by us contributing to the security of others, that these people are going to come and help us if we ever have any problems in the future.
There is a portion of your discourse which tends to lead in the military engagements we have in the world today. If you look at 3 of the world's most peaceful countries, are countries without the military. You have Switzerland, you have Costa Rica, and you have the Vatican. These are countries without organized military units.
Yes.
When you succeed, for example, or possibly to become a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, will you be pushing for that kind of solution to live in a more peaceful world? It seems as if the more weapons we get and the more military we build, the more peace vigil will become in the world.
Yes. Well, you know that being a small country, our interests are not as large as other countries. So I think our role as a possible peacemaker or as an honest broker is definitely something that we can take up in the UN Security Council. And what we have promised all of the countries who we've been visiting is that we're definitely going to listen to all of the counterparts who are linked to these cases, because I think that we really have to listen more and we have to talk more and really understand these cases in these situations to solve them.
For you to succeed in this business, you certainly need to have some of the best tools of geopolitics in the world today, which is simply how your resources help influence your foreign policy orientation. When you look in your country, Estonia, what do you think are your benchmarks, are your tools, are your elements of power to have leverage and people to listen to you in what you are going to say when it comes to global discourse?
Well, I think that the key example that we've shown is after the restoration of independence in 1991, we went very quickly through the reform process. We opened our market, the free market economy concept, and we also brought in the e-government aspects. The e-government brings in transparency, it brings in efficiency, it brings in...
Well, it is an expression you have repeatedly used in my on and off mic discussion with you about the Estonia digital space and how it is robust. Just talk to me about your e-governance model.
The model in Estonia is based on a single digital identity, unique identity per person.
That is to say?
That means that you're given a number, like your name, and this is the number that you use in communication with the government. Any aspects, any database, even with the banks use the same number. This identifies you. It's either linked to your ID card where there's a chip, or to the chip in your telephone. It's a solution of identifying yourself. And so all of the files are linked to this. So for example, my bank account, my tax declaration, my e-health, when I go to the doctor will put in my number, my unique identifier, and then put in the treatments. We'll also see my history, registration in university, in schools. My children are also linked to my number, so that when they register themselves in the school, when they attend school, we know whether they've been there. The teachers enter information of what they've studied. And then finally, the last thing is the elections. This also permits me to vote online. We have internet voting.
Well, you just spoke about elections. Last year I was in Paris, in France, to attend the first ever edition of the Paris Space Forum, and one of the issues discussed was cyber security and cyber safety. In reality, there was a long discourse on that by the chief executive officer of Microsoft, one of the most leading internet giants in the world. You and I know the troubles of US elections 2016. Just how robust is your online or digital space that somebody cannot crack when it comes to elections, for fake news and all other issues related?
I just want to make just a small differentiation. There's one thing called e-elections, which are electronic, which means it can be a single machine or a single computer. And then there's internet elections. We have internet elections online, which is linked to our identification system, which also has very strong encryption. It also allows you to change your vote during the period. So if during that time when you've been voting, somebody has been pressuring you, the next day you can change your vote. You can change your vote until the voting is closed. And even after that, you can go and vote in the polling station itself.
What you mean to tell me is that it is very difficult to have trolls infiltrating into the your electoral system, which can end up being a diplomatic palaver like it's US-Russia today. My question again is, how robust is your online infrastructure?
Yes.
That can serve as a model for others. You know, even the French, even the Germans wrote to Facebook, wrote to Twitter, wrote to the CEO of YouTube, eSpace, MyBay, and Yahoo, and others. Look, we cannot continue in this porous system where online infrastructure is so weak and enemies can easily penetrate into it.
There's two things here. One is the actual online solutions. And for us, these are very well well secured. We actually, we say that we had the first cyber war in Estonia. We were attacked by a series of bots attacking various websites and closing these websites, and we were able, together with the private sector, together with the public sector, we're able to fight this attack. Now we also have NATO's Cyber Center for Excellence. Is based in Estonia, and we're working with our colleagues. So this side, in terms of attacks. The other side is the social media aspects that you're talking about, the trolling, and also together with the European Union, we have putting into place systems, monitoring these, challenging these, making sure that the right information is going out. But I think again, this is also a link to identification. We don't know these people. People are able to open up accounts from zero. So again, we have to look at the legal basis on this side. How do we police the cyber field? And I think that's something again that we need to discuss at the UN Security Council.
You just mentioned about the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which of course you have entered ever since you reclaimed your independence in 1991 at the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the dislocation of the Soviet Union, which is simply the Russian Federation today. When you look at the troubles in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, and all what you can imagine going on, President Donald Trump saying that all NATO member countries must pay their 2% arrangement. Are you up to date?
Yes, we're paying over 2%, and we've been doing that for a long time.
Why do you think that a small country like Estonia will succeed to meet a benchmarks for NATO military contribution? Giants like France, like the UK, like Germany are unable.
Well, we've always decided that we have to be the best example. Because if we're not the best example, then people can say, look, they're not doing their job, so we don't need to help them. If we're always setting the best example, we're always fulfilling our commitments. If we say something, we promise something, then we do it. And that's the value in terms of foreign policy as well. In terms of our trust in us, if we do not fill our commitments, then...
Is that part of the Estonian DNA?
Yes, of course.
Is that part of your culture?
Yes, of course. When you promise something, you have to fulfill it.
One of the key topics within the European Union today, the 28 member association, which will simply be 27 possibly as from March 29 this year, is Brexit, or the departure of the United Kingdom from the European Union. As a country and as a presidential advisor of a member country, just how much of a disaster is Brexit to the European Union?
Well, I wouldn't say disaster, but Brexit, UK leaving is very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for us because clearly the UK is a like-minded nation to us. We work very closely in not only in the security area but also in trade, and we have similar understandings of markets and free market economy and so on in these areas as well. So we are trying to do our best to make sure that whichever way the final decision goes, that we're still able to keep good relations with the UK. That is the best solution for the EU as well. We will not be a stranger to them. They're part of our family still in other areas, and we have to work together.
Brexit exposed the cracks and possibly one that the European Union can collapse. This is something you are running to enter as soon as you reclaimed your independence in 1991. Are you worried? Is Estonia worried? Particularly, you are just closer to a very giant neighbor, Russia. Are you worried about the way the UK is leaving the European Union and the impact it may have, the crossover effect?
Surprisingly, we're not worried, because right after the first declaration of Brexit,
it should be a diplomatic statement.
But we got stronger. The EU was really felt stronger. Everybody was, all of the other countries, all of the other member states, all made strong statements that the EU is important for us and that we need to stay together. As I said, the international community, being a member of the international community, being a member of the organization is our strength. We are a small country. It's difficult for us to go on our own. The opening of these markets to us has been the key to our growth and to our reforms and to our success.
What has multilateralism concretely brought to the people of Estonia in terms of economics, in terms of politics, in terms of culture? What has it actually brought to you?
But I mean, if you look at simple things like the numbers after the restoration of independence, the salary for each Estonian was about €8 per month. Now the average salary is somewhere around 1,200, 1,300 euros per month. So already the growth there in terms of this has been quite significant. In terms of if you look at the environment, after the Soviet Union we had lots of pollution and lots of problems in this area. We've been able to clean up these areas. We have some of the cleanest air in the entire world in terms of rankings. So there are a lot of these opportunities that the countries have come to support us. We were also given development cooperation. Now we've become a donor, but we were given this. We were given help from the international community to rebuild our country. We had advisors, people giving us advice. Sometimes we didn't listen to it, sometimes we did, but we built a system that we thought would work for us and that we would be very efficient and successful. And I think that also the opening of our markets, our friends in Finland and Sweden are our biggest investors and our biggest trading partners. So this cross-border trade with your neighbors is the key to growth in developing countries. Well,
you have one of the best forest management system in the former Soviet republics. In a world where climate change is part of our discourse on a daily basis, does that ring a bell to you on how the natural ecosystem should be managed?
Yes, of course. I mean, we're feeling it in Estonia as well. This summer especially, the temperatures were very high. For us already, temperature in the 30 degrees range is very high. We had our lakes, some of them are quite shallow, so they were warming up too quickly, and the fish were dying and coming out of the lake. So I mean, it's not something that only the southern countries feel. It's also all around the world is feeling this.
This is a book about Estonia. There is an expression in your country that silence is gold.
Yes.
And that is deeply rooted in your culture. And today you want to enter into the club of clubs, the Security Council of the United Nations. Why should a country whose people like silence become the mouthpiece of the world?
But again, as I said, silence is gold, meaning that you have to listen. You have to listen before you talk. You have to ask other people's opinions. You have to listen to other people's opinions. You have to understand the topic, and then you can talk, and then you can express yourselves. So the expression in Estonia means that you take your time until you feel confident that you're going to say something intelligent and useful, and then you will say it. That's why the silence is gold.
Before you headed to Cameroon, you were coming from Guatemala as part of this global tour to seek support from UN member countries to back your candidacy. What have you learned from all these movements you are making around the world, talking with prime ministers, kings, ambassadors, foreign affairs ministers? What concretely have you learned from them that come out from time to time as the main problems facing our world today?
We have really found that, first of all, even though we have long distances in between our countries, that we often have things in common. I think the same climate question that you brought up. We've been to, colleagues have been, and the president has been to the Pacific Islands countries. They are really feeling the effects of climate change with the water levels rising, and so we have the similar areas. Then there are things, as I mentioned, conflicts.
British used to say, and they claim it today, that their best cultural export is William Shakespeare. The French will tell you of Charles de Gaulle. The Americans will tell you of George Washington or the founding fathers, to call them in a blog. When you go to Russia, they will tell you people like Rasputin. I hope you know that. And of course, the Tsars. What is the best-selling mark for Estonia in the world today?
I think there's a couple. There's one. His name is Arvo Pärt. He's the best-selling composer who's still alive in the world. He makes choir music. Then there's Ott Tannock, who's a rally car driver, one of the top drivers in the world. And then we have quite a good group of models, Estonian models, Carmen Kass and others. So we are a small country, maybe not very well-known international names, but we still have a wide variety of successful people.
Oh, well, and that makes the world a multicultural space. The special advisor to the President of Estonia, Daniel SCHAER, thank you very much indeed for being guest on GlobeWatch.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
You are welcome.